Hey everybody, welcome to the Rich Get Richard. My name is Mr. Richard, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Martinez, and he's going to talk to us today about funding and getting capital for down payments. Or everybody always asks, "Where's the money? How do I get the money? How do I get access to funds? Or who can bridge or help me get to that next step when it comes to access to capital?" And hopefully, he could talk about some different options that him and his business can do for you and see if he's a good resource that you can add to your utility belt. And hopefully we can make some moves together and hopefully he can help you out. So without further ado, Mr. Martinez, introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Richard, for giving me the opportunity to be here today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you during the last couple of days after we met at the Leverage Summit here in Tampa. So I appreciate you for bringing me here and being able to be of service tonight and share some of the things that I do. And if I can be of help to your community, wonderful, by your co-host. So my name is Anastasio Martinez. I go by Tasso. That's my nickname. You can call me Tasso. I was born and raised in an island in the Caribbean, a very little island named Puerto Rico. I have two kids. I have a little one of 5 years old, a daughter. I have a son of 10 years old. Pretty busy with life, pretty busy with business. I was telling Mr. Wonderful that I just recently moved to Florida 3 years ago after being in LA for 12 years. In LA, I was the vice president of a construction company where I used to provide interior renovation services to apartment owners that own anywhere between 50 doors to 10,000 doors. So I used to meet with these owners and operators and provide them on renovations, helping them stabilize their asset, distress, to taking them to look very good, very nice. When I moved here to Florida in 2022, right after that year ended in 2023, I parted away with the company. I took a sabbatical and went traveling to South America with my family, Colombia. I went to Guatemala. I went to Puerto Rico. And during that time, I had one of my old clients from LA that committed suicide. And that really threw me off at the time. That was crazy for me to realize what happened. I couldn't shake it off. My wife is a psychologist, so she really helped me during that time because I couldn't believe it. The guy had it all: the house, the car, the wife, the kids, the portfolio. He had it all, so that really was hard on me. But what happened was right after that, my wife told me, do you want to go back to real estate? Do you want to go back to construction? Do you want to go back on the acquisition side?" And at that time, I was looking for being on the capital side of real estate. I didn't know how I was gonna do it. All I thought was, you know what, I want to be on the capital side this time around, and I want to do it differently. I have always believed that if you do good, it's your responsibility to also help those ones that are less fortunate. And at the time, what I was thinking was, you know what? I want to do something that I can do remote. I want to do something related to capital, real estate, that I can be in and out, that has tremendous upside. One of the things I love to do is traveling. So I want to be able to be maybe in South America, Europe, North America, and I can still do business, right? And that's where I came across transactional funding, right? So when I came about transactional funding, I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. I had never heard of this before. It's very niche. I'm still funding deals in real estate and also in business. So this is amazing. This is great. But this time around, rather than just doing deals and working with investors and everything, I want to add three things to what I do now, which is purpose, impact, and meaning. So after that situation that happened with the client that committed suicide, when I decided to do transactional funding, what I do now is that I work with investors and wholesalers and business owners nationwide by providing them with transactional funding for earnest money deposit, double closes, and something called providing the down payment and the closing costs to acquire properties or businesses with zero money out of pocket when I come in and I bring the down payment and the closing costs to these transactions. So what happened here is when I work with these individuals nationwide, they come to me as an investor and as a wholesaler or as a business owner. And once I do a business transaction with them on the side of capital, they now become an agent of change in the process. Why is that? Because 10% of all the profits that are bringing to my company, they go into an impact fund that is dedicated to build houses and provide clean waters in South America.
Yep.
So here's what happening. We're building profit, but we're also making a difference at the same time. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because I want to take these people that I'm doing business with in a trip with me, something called an impact trip, because I love culture, I love traveling. So that way I take them out of the bubble, they come with me, and that way they have an experience like none other, right? So now when they go to bed, they feel good because they're doing good in business and in real estate, but now they're also feeling good, but because we're also giving back.
Yep.
I have two partnerships right now. One that is with a company named Techo, which is the Spanish word of roof. And I have another partnership with another company that build water wells. And what happened is these projects go between 5,000 to 10,000. So once we get to that mark of 5,000 to 10,000, whoever I deal business with during that time to get to that uh, level of funding for these houses and these water wells, everybody that contributed that we did business with, they get an invitation from me to go on something called an impact trip. So
Yep.
now we're blending the two things together, right? So I know you guys have a lot of people in real estate and mostly it's businesses acquisitions and stuff like that. So I wanna share with you my screen right now so I can share a little bit more about the three type of funds that I do, which I just mentioned, earnest money deposit, double closes, and seller carryback transactions. So I'm gonna share with you guys my screen.
And whenever you're getting that ready, I'm gonna go ahead and say, man, I'm sorry about the loss of your friend too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially losing someone that you probably admire, that you're really, really close to, especially when you feel like you look at their life and you're like, man, this guy has it going on.
I
I
couldn't believe
aspire
it.
to be him, and you know, for them to do that, it lets you know that if you know, you might see the facade, you might see the cars and the money,
Yeah.
the family, and a lot of times people have, you know, different demons that they're fighting. So don't never look at somebody and think that they're in the
Absolutely.
best
You
position.
never know. You never know what battle someone is facing just by how you might perceive them, right?
Yeah.
They might be putting a small face. They might be living in a nice neighborhood like he was living in LA. I was speechless when it happened. I found out on a Saturday morning when I turned on my social media, Instagram. I follow an account named The Real Deal. Is an account that is pretty much more about commercial real estate news.
Hmm.
And he was on the post, and when I started reading the post, I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
And he was building a nice house, and I got to know his wife, and it was devastating, and it was very shocking to me, right? Because I was I was doing renovations in some of his properties. I knew his team, I knew his office, I knew him. But you know what? The blessing right now to me is that I get to do something with meaning, purpose, and impact, and bringing everything together,
Yeah.
which
Which
is
kind of leads me to the next point, you know, having a bigger purpose on why you do stuff. I mean,
absolutely,
because at the end of the day, you know, if you do something long enough and you're good at it, you're going to make money at it. And
absolutely,
sometimes when you do things, it's really not about the money, right? You sometimes you know you got to make money, you got to feed your family, you got to provide for yourself, but you got to look at the big picture in some things, man. And having a purpose or impact is really, really cool. And what's crazy is too, you do kickbacks or givebacks, and I try to do the same thing. It's kind of similar to
yeah,
what I do. You know, like if I see an individual or they're down in the luck, or even in the community that I host, I'll do,
Yeah.
hey, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, and just do kickbacks and givebacks because rewarding individuals for doing what they're supposed to do, or helping me along my journey
Absolutely.
and helping each other along their journey is kind of cool too.
It's very fulfilling, right? So, right, because there's something inside of everybody that we're called to serve and we're called to um, collaborate and we're called to support each other. Somehow we get so uh, distracted by, you name it, life, business, whatever, right? But there's always that sense within us, that little voice telling you, you know what, let's do this for others too, right? Because there's a nice quote that I hear one time, and I kind of like got a tattoo in my head and in my heart that it says, "Life supports that supports life."
Yeah,
So, and that's incredible, right? Because when we're really going out there with that disposition of service, opportunities will find you, right?
yeah,
You texted me the other day, hey, bro, I think we might be able to do something with you. Can we get on a phone call? And I'm like, sure, bro, why not? Let's do it, right? Because you got that right intention, right? You got this amazing community. You're just leading them in a way that you're trying to help them, right? To elevate them, to go reach new goals, to reach their dreams. And that's beautiful, right? And hopefully they got that ingrained from you. And hopefully they go out and do amazing things, but they also help the next wave of people around them too, right?
yeah,
Which is the ripple effect of doing things with meaning and purpose, right? So
yeah.
incredible, brother.
And you talked about helping individuals, and you said that you can help individuals with three different services. So go ahead if you want to share your
Yeah,
screen now, and
I'm
go
gonna
ahead
share that right now. Yeah. So
and introduce your services and see how you can help the community or help anybody who's listening. I think I made you a co-host. You should be. Yeah.
okay, okay, let me see. Okay,
Yeah. I see it.
okay. Do you see my screen?
I see Zoom.
Okay, good. I'm gonna open this here very quick. So here we go. So this is my funding box. This is me here at the top. At Del Campo, 10% of our revenue is dedicated to providing housing and clean water to people. Let me see one second here. To people in need around the world. We're committed to uplifting humanity one deal at a time by funding with purpose and impacting with profits. Right. So here are the three things that I get to fund nowadays with wholesalers and investors around the United States, right? Number one is EMD, right? If you're buying a business, if you're buying real estate, you need an earnest money deposit. The amount that I get to fund nowadays is up to $100,000. Any request about 100,000, we get to review it on a case by case basis, right? If you need $50,000, cool. You go to my website, you submit a funding request, and in less than 30 minutes, 1 hour, you either get a notification via email with approve or denied. And if you're denied, we'll let you know why. All right? It's very simple. So that's for anything residential, commercial, real estate, or also business. The other thing too that I get to fund are double closes. I don't know how many of you are familiar with double closes, but a double close is just simple. It's a simple transaction. So if you're in wholesaling or if you're in real estate investing, it's just another tool that you can use to, rather than doing an assignment as a wholesaler, right? When you're assigning a contract from a seller to an end buyer and you have the wholesaler as the middleman, he gets to disclose how much he's making as an assignment fee. With a double close, you become the owner of the transaction. So there are two separate transactions that take place on the same day because the person who's dealing with these transactions doesn't want to disclose the profits that he's about to make. Typically, a real estate investor or a wholesaler, they typically use this. So the amount that I get to fund on this type of transaction is up to 100 million. This is same day closing because there are two contracts, the contract with the seller and the guy having the transaction and then the guy having the transaction and the end buyer. So it's two back-to-back transactions taking place, right, on the same day. And I get my raise here from 1.5% from 100,000 to a million, or 2.5% from 1 million to 5 million, or 3% from anything above 5 million. Right now, I'm working with two deals that got submitted on my site. One is for $132 million multifamily property in North Carolina. And then I have another one for like $32 million that is in Texas for another multifamily property. So anything about $5 million I can do. I have a capital connection where we get to fund all these deals, small, big, you name it, anything in between, we get to fund it, right? And the last thing I get to fund is something called seller carryback or stack deals or mobile deals, right? I'm gonna explain this in a second because I have a guide that I want to go through it. But this is just an acquisition strategy that is used by investors or business operators. And this is where they go out and they acquire a piece of real estate or a business, and they acquire it with zero money out of pocket, where I come in and I bring in the down payment and the closing costs. It typically happens within 1 or 2 days. It's very simple, but it's just another strategy that you can leverage to use to buy a business or buy real estate with zero money out of pocket. And I'm gonna open this right now here so you guys have a better idea about how this work. All right, so what is the stack method overview, right? So the stack method, also known as the seller carryback or morbid deal, is an acquisition strategy designed for investors who want to acquire properties with zero out of pocket while maintaining full ownership of the deal. This approach involves stacking two loans to acquire real estate or a business. The buyer secures a first position loan from a lender and negotiates with the seller to finance the down payment or closing costs in second position. Del Campo, which is my company, we provide the down payment and the closing costs upfront, allowing the buyer to close with zero down, while the seller carries that same amount as agreed on a second note. It is a powerful way to acquire assets creatively, preserve liquidity, and scale faster by leveraging existing capital efficiently. So you can go out there to the marketplace, you see a piece of real estate or you see a business, and you're like, you know what? How does it work? Well, if you can go out and get approved for a loan in first position, and somehow you can present to the seller to carry on a second note via seller finance the amount of closing costs and down payment, we have a deal, right? So here, if you're an investor, here's the step by step I want you to follow, right? This is mostly for real estate, but it also applies for business. It's just a strategy, right? You're just really stacking two loans. If you're buying a business and you go out and you qualify for a loan in first position and you get a loan for 70% or 80% or 90% loan to value, wonderful. Um, the second part, which is the closing costs and the down payment, that's where I come in and bring that to you guys. So here is a step-by-step process if you are buying a piece of real estate. Well, you go out and find and underwrite the deal. You locate a solid investment opportunity anywhere in the United States and confirm the numbers make sense. So you're the one vetting the deal and doing the underwriting, right? Once the numbers make sense, you verify that there's equity in the property, right? So what is equity? Well, equity is just simple. What is the property selling for and what amount is owed on the property? Meaning, if the property is selling for $1 million and there's an outstanding balance owed for 500,000, well, the equity is 500,000. And that amount is the maximum you can sell or carry back. And seller carryback is just another thing for saying the seller will allow the buyer to carry a portion of the selling price. That's it. It's just as simple as that, right? The buyer, number three, the buyer must be able to qualify for a loan in first position. If you don't qualify for a loan in first position, right, or you don't have a partner that can qualify for a loan in first position, it's not gonna be no bueno. You have to be able to qualify for a loan as first position, right? And that loan amount must be greater than one is currently owned on the property. Meaning, on that example that I give you, 1 million, if the current seller owes right now 500,000 and you get approved for 50% loan to value on that $1 million property, well, that's not gonna work because you're getting approved for 500,000, right? And his current mortgage or existing amount that he owes is 500,000. But if you get approved for 70% loan to value on 1 million, we know that's 700,000, and that number of that loan in first position is greater with what is owed right now on the deal. That's good to go. Number four, you present a letter of intent, right? Where with your proposed structure of the deal and the seller carry back terms, right? The terms that those terms are willing, those terms are open for you to negotiate with the current seller, right? You negotiate that, right? It can be, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That's all for you to negotiate with the seller, right? It can be 3%, 4%, 5%. That's all up to the buyer and the seller to negotiate. Number five, the sellers, and this is the biggest one, the sellers agree to carry, meaning the seller agreed to finance the down payment and the closing costs on second position behind the primary loan. You can find a good deal, you can have equity on the deal. You can qualify for a loan in first position. You can present the letter of intent on your terms. But if the seller doesn't agree to carry the closing costs and the down payment, the strategy is not going to work because the seller had to be. But the question here is always, why will the seller agree to this? Well, they probably don't need all the capital and they want to defer taxes. And the property probably is not selling. And if you present a different way where they can win and you can win, why not take it? Right? So what are the next steps, right? Once you have these 5 steps, it's very simple. This is where I come in, right? You come to Del Campo. We can assist you with 2 tiers. Tier number one, we fund the down payment and the closing cost to you. You know how this structure work. All the steps are fulfilled, and you tell me, Tasso, I need the down payment and the closing cost for this deal that I'm closing. Beautiful. You go to my website, you submit funding request, we underwrite it, we see that everything is cool. We go there and bring the closing cost and the down payment to you. If you don't know how the strategy work and you need help with transactional coordination, you need contract creation, you need lender sourcing, you need the communication with title, you need an attorney to help you out create the second note, all of that good stuff, you come to us. There is an upfront fee of $1,400. We don't get to charge you that unless we get on a call with you first and we make sure that this deal is a seller carryback deal. If it's not, of course, we're not going to charge you because it's not a vetted deal, right? So we will only charge you if it's a green light deal and it meets everything above that I discussed with you. We will never charge you upfront for anything that we're not going to do. So we'll always have a first call that our transactional coordination teams, Alex, get on a call with you and he verifies everything before we move ahead. So these are the 2 tiers that we work, right? So what are the services that we don't provide in this type of transaction? Number one, we don't find the deals and we don't negotiate the deals. Hey, can you find me a deal to do this? Well, that's up to you, right? You're the investor. You're looking for deals out there. Can you analyze the deal for me? Can you underwrite the deal for me? No, that's up to you. Can you draft or submit an LOI? Well, that's always up to you. Can you negotiate the seller carry terms with the seller? Well, that's up to you, right? Because you may have different goals than the seller, and the seller may have different goals than the goals that you have, right? So that's up to you to negotiate. Some of the key things for you to keep on top of mind is that this is not a sub to deal. This is not a full seller finance deal where the seller finances the majority of the note, and this is not a cash purchase deal. This is not a syndication where you're syndicating a multifamily property and you're bringing a bunch of LPs. This deal, once you do it, you're 100% owner. I don't get any ownership on the deal as me bringing the capital to the table. You guys will own the deal 100% when you purchase it, right? So that's very important. When you're doing a syndication, you get many limited partners. The GP partners need to raise capital. They need to bring capital from the outside, right? From private investor. There's a bunch of people that owns part of the deal. And I've been part of those deals. I'm currently an owner on 384 units in Arizona on three hotels where the split is a 50-50% split between the general partners and the private capital partners. And we get to split all the profits in the deal, right? But there's a bunch of people that own a little piece of the deal on that structure. In this type of structure, you are 100% owner in the deal, right? What are the ideal buyers? Well, the ideal buyers are people who understand creative financing. They're looking to scale or acquire more deals via other options, right? And the ideal sellers are people who are flexible, people who don't need all the cash up front, and they're open to deferring taxes, right? They don't want to pay a big chunk of taxes up front when they get the deal. They understand the structure of the deal, they understand the risk because they're allowing to carry on a second note the down payment, the closing costs. They get it, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. It's a win-win situation for the buyer, the seller, for me, and for everybody involved. Of course, it doesn't apply to everybody for every deal. There are some deals that are not gonna be they're not gonna have any equity, right? There are some deals that the seller doesn't want to agree on carrying a second note. He doesn't want to do that. But there are gonna be deals that everything is gonna be check and it's gonna be ideal for the buyer and it's gonna be ideal for the seller. And when that happens, I'm here to bring in the capital for the down payment and the closing costs.
All right. I mean, it sounds like you pretty much explained it all. So, couple of quick questions. I'll ask a couple questions to you, and then I'll turn it over to the community. But hold off on the questions till me and him are done. So the earning money, the EMD strategy. Okay.
Yeah,
So the EMD. Let's see if
here.
you pull it up real quick. So I'll just start from there. So earnest money deposit, that's generally reserved for wholesalers and buyers, correct?
Yeah. Any end buyer or any wholesaler will always have to use an earnest money deposit to put the property on the contract.
And so let's say, for example, I get a property under contract. Let's say it's worth 100 grand, and I get financed through a traditional loan, 80%, and the owner's willing to carry 20%. You will carry you will give me the earnest money's down, earning the money deposit, which is 20% of that loan, which is $20,000 plus your fee. And
Yeah,
then
the earnest money deposit is different from the down payment of the 20% because the down payment, if you get approved for 80% loan to value on a $100,000 property and the seller is okay to carry the down payment and the closing costs, I will provide to you the $20,000 for the down payment and the closing costs, but the earnest money deposit is different from
oh yeah. What I mean, yeah, that's what I
yeah.
mean. Like the down payment.
Yeah.
We're just using down payment different, and we're saying
Okay,
the
cool,
same
cool,
thing,
cool.
but I
Yeah,
know what you mean.
if you wanna put it on the contract, yeah, as an earnest money deposit, no matter what amount you need, of course, I have a limit right now to 100,000. But if you tell me, hey, there's a lot of wholesalers and end buyers that they have a lot of capital tied up. They want to scale, but they don't want to use all their liquidity, and they want to keep their liquidity for other opportunities. So what they do is, if you have a wholesaler and he's doing an assignment and he's about to make $15,000 in the assignment, but he doesn't have $3,000, $4,000, or $1,000 to put it on the EMD.
Yeah,
I come in, I put it for him, and then when we close the deal, he get paid, right? But
yeah,
the thing with me on the EMD, I get to charge it nowadays. I charge it up front. So rather than you coming in with $1,000, the only thing that you have to pay is $100.
yeah, yeah. And then you pay the $100, and then when they close, they create a second note, and with the owner, and then the lender creates the first note, and then you just keep the fee, and you get your money back.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. All right. That sounds pretty
The
clear.
easiest way to understand that is you go out there, you find a piece of property, and the number one thing I always tell everybody is you gotta find out number one, what is it selling for? And number two, how much is it owed by the current seller? Because the number one thing you gotta find out in this deal is if there's equity in the deal.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. After you do that, you have to be able to qualify for a loan in first position, right? So now you got the two biggest things. And number three, the seller needs to agree on carrying a second note for the down payment and the closing costs. Once you got those three things,
Yeah.
you
But
reach
yeah,
out to
but
me. Yeah,
it's easy. It's easier, honestly, to sell a carry because they're deferring taxes.
of
So if
course.
anybody ever wanted to know what do you
Of
say
course.
to people in that position, hey, you can get, you're going to pay capital gains tax on 100,000. If you carry me 30,000, you'll save $30,000 and you'll defer taxes on $30,000. So
Yeah, you either drop a big bucket of water for taxes that you have to pay up front, or you either stand it with drops over a course of a long period of time, depending on the terms.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you said something about seller carry. You stroll down to that too, because you had some good points in there.
Oh, yeah, on the guide. Yeah,
So,
this
so
guy,
is the Morby deal like is that Pace Morby deal? Is that what that comes from?
they're called three words, right? There's people who are not part of Pace Morby that they get it as a seller carryback. They had never heard Morby deal. They had never heard of Pace Morby before.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a lender today that he has a guy here in Florida and a guy in Texas, and they're very familiar with seller carryback, but they don't know what's the Morby deal. So I did not even brought it up to them, but I put it here sometimes because people are familiar with Pace. But this is just the same thing. A Morby deal, a seller carryback, or stack. The strategy remains the same. You're just stacking two loans to purchase a property. That's what you're doing. You're qualifying for a loan in first position. On the second one, the seller is okay with carrying that one as a second note.
And I know sometimes whenever a buyer or a seller, they need to see like proof of funds. Would you
Yeah,
provide that for people?
of course.
Okay, yeah, because that's a lot of people will ask, hey, I need proof of funds for this. But if you're going to be providing the down payment
Yeah.
or the down payment initially to do a seller carryback, then it's just a transactional.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the more you
If
talk about it, I can see why you're called a transactional lender, which is
correct.
a newer term, even to myself, even though I've been in the game a long time. It's you're just there to take care of the transaction
Correct.
from the current owner to the new owner and
Correct.
ensure that everybody gets paid and you make a little bit off top, right?
Yeah, you got it right, man. Is I'm closing the gap between the buyer and the seller when it comes to buying a property via seller carryback because I'm bringing the capital that they don't have, right? The down payment and the closing costs. So I'm funding that part, right? I'm not really lending as lender. I'm funding what they're missing there for the down payment on the seller carry. I'm funding the A to B funds for a double close, and I'm funding the earnest money deposit. Everything that I do is on the earnest money deposit is less than 30 days. On the double close is less than 24 hours, right? Because I will always wire the A to B funds when we get confirmation from escrow that the end buyer have already wired the money to purchase the property, right? So it's not until I get the wiring funds from the end buyer and the double close where I wire the money to close the first leg of the transaction. And then on the seller carryback, I'm the one that is funding the deal through the LLC entity bank account that the buyer is buying the property. So when we come to that, there's some things that we need to check with the lenders, right? We have to check if they're going to use their own lenders, fine. We also have a list of lenders that we work with that we know their seasoning requirements and their sourcing requirements. when it comes to sourcing, it's all about where's the money coming from. Are you okay with the money coming from somebody else, not the actual buyer? And if they're okay with that, totally fine, totally cool. If they're okay with allowing a second position note, we let them know that this is how it's going to structure. And if they're okay with it, we move ahead with it.
All right, that sounds like a plan. It's us in this community, all of the stuff that you're talking about, it's almost like a second language to us. We already kind of know exactly what you're talking about, and we're already kind of like working the brain on how we can actually get some deals and stuff done.
Absolutely.
Unshare your screen real quick, and then we'll wrap up the interview process, and then we'll get to some Q&A stuff.
Yeah, let's go to some Q&As.
Hold on, go unshare your screen. I don't know how to get your screen off, or like,
Here we
okay,
go.
there we go. Hold on, let me do this. All right, let me do this. Yeah, so go ahead and real quick, just give me like a 1 minute spiel of who you are, what you can do for people, and how they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm Tasso Martinez. I provide transactional funding to wholesalers and investors nationwide with no credit check required. I provide earnest money deposit and the A to B funds for a double close while also helping investors, property owners, and business owner acquire businesses or uh, properties right now with zero money out of pocket, where I bring the down payment and the closing costs to the table. You can find me very easy at my email is tassomartinez@gmail.com, Taso Martinez at gmail.com. My best number to reach me at is 310-592-5320. You can always shoot me a quick text. I'm also on Instagram by Tasso Martinez. That's my handle on Instagram. And you can find me on LinkedIn too. I'm there too. But you can shoot me a quick email or you can shoot me a quick text. I'm happy to, set up a call with you and be of service and answer any questions that you guys may have.
All right, that's pretty sweet. All right, so this is the type of stuff we talk about here, people. We talk about buying real estate, buying cash flowing assets, buying businesses, all that kind of stuff. Because people always ask, hey, I need the money for the down payment. Hey, I need to get funded. Hey, I need the source of income, or I need the letters that saying that I have this kind of assets or I have this kind of money. And once you kind of reach out and show people that, yo, this is what I need, or you tell people this is what I need, hey, the opportunities will present itself. So that's me and Mr. Tasso, Mr. Martinez. I'm gonna put his contact information in our community, and if you're watching this from any other social media platform, you can reach out to him, and you can kind of go from there. But in the community, we're gonna end the call now, but we're gonna ask some Q&A for our community members. So if you're interested in the community, reach out to me, the Rich Get Richard, or Mr. Richard on all social media platforms. You shoot me a DM and ask how do I get involved, or how do I get a hold of him, or how do I learn more about acquisitions, because he won't teach you how to find the deals, but he will fund the deals. I will teach you how to find the deals,
Hmm.
and then we work together and we can make some magic happen. So you want to learn more? Make sure you're following, make sure you're subbing, and we'll kind of go from there. Thank you for listening. See you in my DMs.